Periscope. Okay, there we go. I was trying to flip that around. What I wanted to talk about was wolf packs and talking circles, and if you guys want to talk to me about it, that would be awesome. So I first came across the idea of wolf packs when I was doing Natalie Lucier's 30-Day List Building Challenge. Now, if you don't know Natalie Lucier, she is a digital strategist, and she does a lot of the tech trainings for Marie Forleo's B School. She has off-the-charts live events. I think Off the Charts may have been a non-live event as well. I'm not sure. Melissa, do you know? I haven't gone to Off the Charts. But she also does the Pop-Up Ally plugin for WordPress and the Webinar Ally, and has the whole Ambition Ally series, which has like Progress Ally and stuff. So she does a lot of things to help you make your website a great place to collect emails and to kind of gather your tribe together. And in the midst of doing her 30-Day List Building Challenge, which I will admit I didn't manage all 30 days. 30 days always seems a little too long for me to stick with something every single day, because I do have some days where there's much different levels of activity going on and amounts of time that I can spend on things like that. But one of my favorite ones was to put together a wolf pack of other small business owners, women who blog, people who do the same sorts of things. And whenever you go do something, it can be so stressful and kind of disheartening when you're just starting out and you put something out. You put yourself out there, you post a blog post, you have a video, you do something, and you get crickets. No one noticed it. You posted in a really busy group, and it just went by in the feed and didn't really get anything. So part of her Wolfpack mentality was that if you get an article published somewhere, tell all your friends and have them go comment on it and share it and help you celebrate. Make it a big deal. Sure, it's your friends helping you out, but why the heck not? What are friends for, right? I mean, you do it for your friends. I do it for my friends all the time. I love sharing the stuff they do. I feel like I have so many fantastic friends. Melissa Opie is one right here who does amazing things. She has this thing called Snap School right now, which I'm in because Snapchat is still really new to me. I've been experimenting with it. I've been using it. But if it weren't for Melissa showing me what Snapchat was about and how to actually navigate the little, camera face, like private message versus your story, I would have just given up. So Melissa's doing Snapchat, and I'm going to shout her out right now because she's in my wolf pack, and I love Melissa. So so wolf pack is one of the ideas. And then also I've been reading Gloria Steinem's On the Road, her recent book, her most recent traveling book about being a feminist advocate. Thank you, Melissa. And it's fantastic. And she was talking about the history of talking circles, both in Native American communities here in the United States and when she was working in India. And this idea of, in India particularly, they were split by gender for sure, but there had to be consensus on all different sides, and people had to talk about things in person. They would sit down and talk in circles for hours and sometimes days to work through different things that affected the whole community. And that's kind of how she sees the advocacy work that she's done all along, traveling from place to place, doing live events, talking about things, educating people, being educated herself. That was one of the things I loved most about her book, was talking about public transportation and how that was really how she learned what was going on in places, talking to cab drivers, talking to people on buses, on the way to the colleges where she was going to speak, finding out what was going on in the community. And that would really help her learn how she could help and what was most important to the people that she was speaking to. And I was like, that's so great, because so many times people do come as a speaker to an event. They're invited. They don't really interact with anyone ahead of time. They give their speech. Maybe they sign books or something, but then they often go away. Maybe they get taken out to dinner by faculty or something. It's the college thing. But her thing was actually like really getting in the community and hanging out there and finding out what she could do to help them make it easier when she was gone. Like, her whole thing was organizing people into groups so that those groups could then help them in their lives after she was gone. Her thing was easy. She just got to come in and leave. She saw that. So she was like, what can I do to make this as meaningful and valuable as possible for the people there? So I love both of these ideas, and lately I've been trying to incorporate them into my work and my life. One way that I've been trying to do that is my podcast, Financial Fluency. So this is my little bit of sharing what I'm doing here, because I think we all get these ideas, these principles, like, oh, wow, it'd be great to have a wolf pack, or yeah, talking circles, women talking about things that are important to them and that affect their lives, gender parity and equal pay and all these things, like, oh, that would be great. But a lot of us don't have that in our local area. We don't have these circles of women that we can really talk to about the things that are affecting our lives most. Sometimes we can put them together. For instance, I live in Flagstaff, Arizona. It's a very small community, and I have 2 kids with autism. So I very quickly made a Facebook group that's called Flagstaff Autism Families, and during the summers we host barbecues at our house because we have a very safe, child-safe, autism-safe fenced yard in a large house, and we can kind of manage people. We have a couple of different playrooms and kids' bedrooms and things, and we have a recording studio, and we often would let some of the kids go in and play the drums and play the guitars, and we'd have some oversight. But we had enough room here, and it's safe enough that we could have people here, whereas when we tried to meet out in public somewhere, like coffee shops or something like that, we realized it's really hard when you have special needs kids to try to be watching them not spill the sugar all over the floor at the coffee shop, do things like that. Here we have a big trampoline in the backyard and stuff, and we have animals that kids love to play with, we have service dogs and things like that. So we'd bring them all here, and then the moms could sit, and we have our yard fence, double fence, so that the kids can't get around the sides of the fence, so the sides of the house, so we can sit in our little talking circle here and watch all the kids. They couldn't get out of our sight, but it gave us a chance to really communicate. So sometimes you can create these things in your community, but you kind of need something that ties you together with the rest of the people or women. For me, it's usually women that I'm focusing on. But when you go online, that's where you can really reach a lot more people, and it's possible to find the people in these specific niches that we want to find them in and have the conversations that we want to have. So for me, like I said, I have the 2 kids with autism. We do autism advocacy. I've been a small business owner and entrepreneur pretty much since college, even though I've at times worked for other people. I've always had something on the side at least. So the people that I end up talking to often are women who have left the traditional 9-to-5 workforce, either for caregiving or just because that's the lifestyle they want. They want to have children someday, and they realize that the corporate world isn't really kind to women who want to get pregnant, take time off to have babies, and then maybe have a flexible work schedule to be able to take care of them. So especially if you have kids with special needs like me. So looking at women, finance, and entrepreneurship has been really important for me. And here are my talking circles and wolf packs that I've created. Let me share them with you. And if you want to join, I would love for anyone to come and join me. The first is totally free, and it's my podcast. I'm going to turn this around so you can see where to find it. Okay, so if you go to jenturrell.com, I put the show notes for each of my podcast episodes here on the blog. If you go to Financial Fluency Podcast, that will take you over to the Podbean where you can listen to all of them. But I also embed every episode here. If I do a solo episode, we transcribe it. This is really out of focus, isn't it? There are transcriptions of it for the solo episodes, which tend to be a bit long, with links and things, everything we talk about. This post here was what's Hollywood got to do with it. And it's a lot. It's about the Hollywood wage gap and things like that. We have different episodes down here. I do a lot of interviews. Every other post is a interview interspersed with my solo podcast where I just talk about things that are important to me or give tips and helpful tools and things like that. If you click on Financial Fluency Podcast, this takes you to Podbean where you can scroll through all the episodes pretty easily. And we look at things like creating passive income from ebooks with Sylvia McCracken. We look at the power of the purse, voting with your dollars in this election year. Healthy and Wealthy with Krisha Young. She is a nutrition warrior. Dragon Wings and Unicorn Horns. That's my story of getting sucked down into these rabbit holes of internet marketing and buying things that you really don't need, like Dragon Wings and Unicorn Horns. So there's just a lot of different things on here. I try to make them really interesting episodes that people will enjoy watching and want to share, hopefully. From there, I did create a Facebook group. Thank you, Melissa, so that we can continue the conversations that get started on the podcast with the listeners. I only recently started that right before I went on this trip, so it hasn't quite grown to where I'm hoping it will be. It's been interesting watching the downloads and seeing where people live and where they're from and what their financial issues are, and realizing I was realizing how many more people were listening to the podcast than I come into contact with anywhere else online. So I thought I need to find some way to, keep talking to these people. So I did create this Facebook group. Okay, if you go to facebook.com, oh, where's my cursor? /financial fluency. Okay, there it is. And you can come and join this. This group is just for women. Of course, anyone can listen to the podcast, but because it's focused on women working outside of the traditional 9-to-5, I wanted women to feel safe coming into the group and talking about their finances. So I decided to make it a female-only group. There are lots of places for men to go to talk about money. There are not so many non-judgmental, safe places that women can come and really have these kinds of discussions. So that is the group. If you're interested, I would totally love for you to check out the podcast and come join the group. And then the next step that I did for this was to create my own little wolf pack, which is my Mastering Money Matters group. So the Mastering Money Matters group is here. I'll click on that too. You can find it on my website, jenturrell.com/masteringmoneymatters. And what that is, it is a paid monthly membership group. But what we've created in there, there's monthly content for paying down debt, for saving up for things like mortgages. We talk about how hard it is to get mortgages when you're self-employed instead of having W-2 income. Things like launch cycles, feast and famine, how to sort of regulate your regular income, how to budget with your regular income. Just kind of all the things that apply to this specific group of women who aren't working in the corporate world. We're working outside of 9-to-5. We have to figure out our own taxes, our own health care for us and our families, our own insurance, all those kinds of things. So in this group, we get much more intense and personal, and a lot of us do reveal certain things about our own financial lives in this very safe place where we can really talk about it. Because I feel like for women, for so long, we have so many areas of shame, and money is definitely a big one. Having debt, having more than your friends, having less than your friends, more than your family members, less than your family members. There's just so many ways that it can be fraught and difficult. And having somewhere where you can talk it out with somebody, I actually think having somewhere to talk it out with people who don't live right next to you and who aren't in your family and who you're not going to bump into at the grocery store is great. I mean, we can all be extra honest with each other because while we may know each other in these different groups and maybe interact with each other in our businesses some, it's not like we have this really close relationship that we do with people we see all the time. Like, I probably wouldn't go and talk to one of my kids' friends' moms waiting in line to pick them up at school about credit card debt or about how hard it was when we were trying to get a mortgage with self-employed income. Those just aren't the kind of conversations that usually come up. But I think women need to have them. I think that we do, because we learn from each other. Women are really good at learning from each other. And another aspect that I really like from this sort of wolfpack mentality is I've seen some studies that show that when we look at the wage gap, a lot of people try to blame it on women not negotiating well enough for their starting salaries. And how over the course of a whole career, you could earn potentially $1 million less than a man who has a similar degree working in the same field with similar jobs, right? And you don't get promoted as often because we don't go after those promotions. We don't do this sort of aggressive, hard-edged negotiation. But I've also seen some studies that showed when women were negotiating for a female coworker or colleague, they were just as good at getting promotions and raises and good starting salaries for the colleague. They did really well, way better than they did for themselves, way better than men do for male colleagues. Men are not that great at negotiating for other people. Maybe not quite as good as men do for themselves, but it was still a really interesting take on things. So I was like, so I feel like this talking circle idea, this helping each other, wanting to discuss things more than just tell people things. It's wanting, a connection more than just to impart information. That it's kind of natural for us. I feel like women we're curious. We're kind of good at helping people feel safe talking about things. And I don't mean to make sweeping generalizations about gender, But the facts that studies show regularly that women don't negotiate that well for themselves, but are fully capable of doing it for someone else. I also see that with promotion. Like, I find it so much easier to promote someone, like the lovely Melissa that'll be right here talking about her Snap School. You should all go join it. I have no problem saying, go join Melissa's Snap School. I have more of a problem saying, come and join my Mastering Money Writers group. I know that it's valuable. I know that it's great. I know people in it love it. Melissa's in it. Quite a few people are in it. But it is so much harder for us to shout ourselves out because there's all this pressure on women, like, don't be vain, you should be humble, don't toot your own horn, like, don't get self-righteous, don't get too uppity. You know, there are all these things that women aren't supposed to do in order to be nice, lovely women that people want to marry, right? Again, I'm going into gender stereotypes here. But if statistically it's significant that women can negotiate better for others than for themselves and can promote others better than themselves, why not all just kind of make the most of that and do it for each other? So that's something else that we've been doing in my Mastering Money Managers group. No one's required to ever promote anyone else if it doesn't fit within their niche, if it's not something their audience would want to hear, if it doesn't really fit within what they're doing. But anytime that we possibly can, if we know someone who needs a service and someone else in the group provides that service, we refer them. If someone's trying to promote something and it's like, you know, I'm not sure why my posts aren't really getting any interaction, we'll go and check them out, give feedback, you know, give some comments, do some likes, promote it a little, share it around. It doesn't hurt. None of it's faked. I think we all genuinely like each other and we genuinely want each other to do well financially and in business. And it feels good. Like, I love having my wolf pack, and I think most people in there do too. Melissa, you said you love it in there. So anyways, if anyone wants to come and join my wolf pack or my talking circles, that's how you can do it. Financial Fluency is my podcast. It's free. You can get an idea of what I do, what I talk about, whether you like it, whether you want to join these conversations. If you love it and you want more, come join Mastering Money Matters, because I spend a lot of time in there. We talk about, right now we're talking about taxes a lot. A few women are trying to switch from being sole proprietors to incorporating, so they're going through the process of deciding which level of incorporation is appropriate for their business and which one has the most benefits tax-wise for them. A lot of that depends on where you live, how corporations are taxed in your area. There are a lot of things to look at, so we've been having some great discussions. So I would love to see you there. Oh my gosh, I just realized it's 3 and my babysitter's leaving, so I better go. Thanks so much for joining me. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.